Let's add a shot camera. Whenever we animate a camera, we need to think about what that camera represents. So typically that camera is going to act as an audience member that's truly living the moment. They're right there. They have a first-hand view of what's happening in our shot. So let's think about that as we animate our shot camera. What we'll have is the camera start at about a 3/4 front view on the ship's left side, and then we could have it kind of circle around, and then we'll make sure that the camera follows the ship as it takes off. We'll create a dynamic zooming effect where the camera really focuses on the aircraft, and that will help sell the ship's speed. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll turn off auto key. We'll head over to our create panel and we'll create a free camera. We'll also make sure to create a pivot control. That way we have multiple levels of control over the camera and we thus have more freedom that way. So we're creating a free camera. I'd like to create this at the origin of the scene. One fast way to do that is to just go in and hide the aircraft, hide its geometry from the aircraft layer. And now we can press the S key. Let's make sure that we could snap to grid. If we were to right click on our grid snapping tool, you'll just want to make sure that grid point is checked. And now we could go ahead and close this out. And now we could go ahead and create our free camera right there at the center. Alright, let's go ahead and now right click to exit our camera tool. We could also press the S key to turn off snapping. And let's now go in and start to rotate the camera with angle snap this time. We'll press the A key. That way we can truly straighten up this camera. In the Z axis, we'll rotate it 90 degrees. And now in the X axis, let's go ahead and rotate the camera up 90 degrees so it points forward. Alright, great. So from there, we can now go ahead and lift the camera up just a bit. Let's go to our move tool and lift it up in the Z axis. Let's rename this to ShotCam 01. And now we'll create the pivot control. What we'll do is grab a helper. So let's go to the next section right next to cameras. We'll create a point helper. And let's go ahead and press the S key so we can go ahead and snap to the center of our grid. From there, we'll go ahead and right click to exit the tool. We'll go ahead and press S again to exit snapping. And now we can go ahead and take our camera and use the link tool at the top left of Max. Go ahead and link or connect it to our helper. Alright, great. So wherever the helper goes, the camera follows. So again, we have an extra level of control that way. Alright, so now let's go ahead and rename this helper to CTRL for control underscore ShotCam 01. Now here's a useful tip, just to make sure that we can always get back to this origin. If we were to select both the helper and control click our camera, we can go ahead and alt right click to get to the animate quad menu and freeze the transforms of both objects. So here's why this is useful. If we again need to get back to the center, let's say we're animating and we need to go back to the origin, it's just a matter of alt right clicking and choosing transform to 0, and that'll snap that object back. Alright, great. So we're ready to go ahead and start positioning this camera. Let's go ahead and grab our move tool and move it over. And now we can rotate it in place. Let's go ahead and rotate it to point at the front of the ship. Again, a 3/4 front view is what we're aiming for. And now we're ready to bring back the aircraft. Alright, so how are we going to look through our shot camera here and still work through our perspective view? That would be very convenient. Alright, so what we could do is create a quick layout to work between both views. Let's go to our camera settings at the top left of the viewport. Let's just right click and we'll choose configure viewports. From there we could go to layout and we'll choose the 2-pane layout. So now when we choose OK, take a look. When we press Alt W, now we're working with 2 views. So we could quickly set this up. If you'd like, you could have the camera on the right be your shot camera, and then you could have the perspective on your left. So it's whatever works best for you. Sometimes I like to keep the perspective view on the right and the shot camera on the left. It's just a matter of what you find more convenient. But that's how I'm going to set this up. So again, the shot camera is on the left and the perspective view is on the right. I can start to back up the perspective a bit, and then we could go to our shot camera's control, this helper, and we can start to bring this back. So let's do that. Great. And now the next thing we'll want to do is focus in on our shot camera. Let's go ahead and press Alt-W, and then we'll press Shift-F. This is our safe frame border. It helps us to make sure that everything that we want in our shot will remain in shot. Alright, so anything outside of this border, of course, will be cut off in a render. Alright, so I'm just going to make sure, again, we use Shift-F to turn on safe frames. We could use it again to turn it off. But chances are you'll want to keep it on for your shot camera. Let's press Alt-W again so we can focus back in on our perspective view. We could also press F3 in the perspective view so we can view everything in our texture mode and shaded mode. Alright, so now it's just a matter of framing this, making sure that we have the framing we'd like, maybe bringing down the helper just a bit more. Okay, great. So it's now time to animate. Let's go ahead and turn back on auto key. And let's go ahead and figure out a time where we would like the camera to move to a 3/4 back view of our aircraft. So it's almost like a character kind of walking through our scene. Let's go to about frame 99. And what we'll do is go ahead and just drag the helper over, and then we'll rotate it so it points at a 3/4 back view of our aircraft. Maybe not totally the back, maybe closer to the center. Great, that way we can keep our camera focused as it starts to point towards the aircraft when it takes off. Great. Now we have this linear line when we go from 0 to 99, so we could add more of a midpoint key to fix the arc here. A cool tool we can use is from the motion panel. If we turn on trajectories, now we can see the line of action that we create, and we could go ahead and tweak that to create our arc by just taking our camera and pulling it back a bit more. Notice how interactive it is. We instantly see the change we make when we add that arc, and see how the path gets adjusted. Alright, great. So that's looking nice. I might go back to frame 52, just kind of adjust it just to kind of smooth out the arc a bit more. Okay, great. So from here, we now would want to focus on just making sure that the ship is focused the way we'd like it to be. So that might be a matter of going to our rotate manipulator and rotating our helper so it's still focused on our aircraft. Let's turn off angle snap. Let's press the A key just to make sure that we're just focused on the center of our ship when it swings around. When we get to 99, it might be a good idea to just go ahead and back up the camera just a bit to smooth out our arc some more. Great, so here's what we end up with. So let's go ahead and finish our camera animation in the next lesson.